You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be celebrating the Punjab Kings, the record breakers, the kings of T20 cricket. They just chased down 260 million runs against the Kolkata Knight Riders, the highest chase in T20 cricket. And I, myself, Jack Hope, loved it. Ross, what did you think?
I can't believe it, mate. I can't believe it. There was the record number of sixes hit in the match. And I mean, Punjab Kings they're the complete and utter lottery. They are box office. You have no idea what's going to turn up. They are like a car wreck and a massive, beautiful rainbow all at the same time, all rolled into one. So an unbelievable win for Punjab Kings. Is the playoff dream alive, Jack? That's what I want to know.
I know it doesn't matter now. I would rather. Honestly,
they've won the IPL. That's what they've done. They've won the IPL.
I'm just saying this up front. I would rather finish last, but do the record chase in T20 cricket than win the IPL. That's it. How many T20 cricket games are played every year? Thousands of games, and they all count. They're all in the record books. This is number one. They've knocked South Africa off their perch, who knocked Serbia off their perch. That's how many T20 games are in this record. Serbia were the record holder, or the game was against Serbia. Somebody did it to Serbia. I don't know the specifics, but this happened to Serbia, and then it happened to the West Indies, and now it's happened to Kolkata Knight Riders. I want to be Punjab Kings. I don't want to be Rajasthan Royals. Screw Rajasthan Royals. They're just going to be win a trophy. Doesn't last 5 minutes. This is history. This was T20 history. Johnny Bairstow, you kind of have to ask questions about where he's been for the last few matches, but he's back. He was amazing. Shashank again, unbelievable. Ross, there's loads to get into, but before we do that, a reminder to people to make sure they're clicking like and subscribe if you're over on YouTube. We are currently 21 subscribers short of the magical 16,000 mark. That's a lot, 16,000. So if you are listening, that's not really a useful message for you, but if you are watching, it's very useful. Click subscribe, click the bell thing as well, and then you'll always get a notification when we go live. And obviously, if you're on Spotify or Apple or whatever, leave us a review and give us some support. That way, we really appreciate it. We're grateful. Our hearts are grateful to you. Ross, I'm going to give you the slightly unenviable task of trying to summarize what happened in that 550-run smash-a-thon that we just watched.
Well, it started off with the classic combination of Narain and a little bit of salt. And you saw the very best, I thought, of KKR. Plans were going right as they were expected to. Salt was smashing it from one end, Narain at the other, and Punjab Kings looked like they just didn't know where to bowl. It was an over where Rabada got absolutely flayed. And on our Discord channel, everyone's like, where the hell do you even set a field to Narain? And it wouldn't matter because Punjab would have dropped him anyway. It was absolutely ridiculous. They dropped 3 or 4 catches off of Phil Salt and Narain, and it was always a little bit comedy kings. Venki came in. He did all right. The commentators turned around and again mentioned his degree in economics or accountancy. Continuously boring. Dre Russ, the crowd wanted Dr. Dre, the next episode blaring out of the stadium. He swaggers in and does what Dre Russ does. And it all just continued to roll in a theme where KKR were going to be set to be, I don't know, kind of getting close to Sunrisers' record they hit earlier in the season against RCB. And they fell just short. 2-6-1, a really, really good total. You can't, if you were KKR, you can't really ask for much more. And Punjab Kings was sitting there going, guys, every single one of our bowlers, other than Rahul Chahar, was absolutely blitzed, really. And I couldn't believe what happened. Sam Curran, captain, didn't come out to open. So there was a more reflection in the camp. So Singh and Bairstow swaggered to the crease. And they're not phased. They are not phased even in the slightest. And KKR, they're trying to defend on a road. At Eden Gardens, it was an absolute motorway they were playing with the odd bit of turn here and there. But there was something in the air, Jack. The ball seemed to fly a little bit further tonight. And you saw Johnny Bairstow, a wounded animal. I categorized it in our Discord as he's the lost family dog that has come home, and you saw him in his very best. And Riley Russo, kind of again, just an all or nothing cricketer. And unfortunately, sometimes his brain is fully in gear. In other times when he got out, it's clearly not there at all. And then Shashank, the Punjab Kings bought the wrong one, but inadvertently got the right one. And he hit the same shot about 10 times and hit about 10 sixes from it. And ultimately, Kevin Peterson couldn't believe that this score was chased down in with 8 balls to spare, and neither can I. It was an absolutely brilliant chase, and they get home comfortably. 300 could well have been chased.
That's a big claim off the last 8 balls of the innings, but you never know. You never know. You think you said what could Kolkata Knight Riders have asked for? 261. I think probably another 25 runs might have made it difficult. Like it was. Some things in cricket, they just defy analytics, don't they? Like we like to come at the sport with numbers and try and give our listeners and our viewers reason for why things happened, but that isn't possible.
Game's not played on a spreadsheet, mate, is it?
The game is not played on a spreadsheet. Punjab Kings are not played. They've never even heard of the spreadsheet. They're out. They're carving a groove somewhere in left field.
Dan Weston tried to give them a spreadsheet, right? Dan Weston tried to say, look, here's the numbers. No. We'll burn that to the ground. What we want is chaos. And that's what they got, chaos.
But today, chaos was on their side. Chaos came down heavy for the Punjab Kings. Johnny Bairstow, Ross, you must have warmed your soul. 108 off 48. 9 sixes. The short arm jab out in force.
And he's been
every
shit
bowler powering.
Ages. He has been absolutely shit for ages. And it's a really weird thing with Bairstow. You just go through this cycle. And if this is the start of a purple patch for Johnny Bairstow, watch out, world, because the World Cup is just around the corner. And this is an absolutely phenomenal innings where he just couldn't seem to do anything wrong, Jack. Everything kind of came out of the middle, and Shashank was the same. The ball just seemed to sit up for them beautifully, and the KKR bowlers were just like, well, you've just hit that one for 6. I'm going to try and do the same ball again and see if you are good enough to hit it for 6 again. And they were 40 odd sixes in this game. It was a blitzkrieg. That's what it was.
It was. It was a nice World War II reference. Get that in. Our finest hour and all that. I mean, it was Punjab Kings' finest hour. It was. That's where you were going with that reference. Now we're on the same wavelength. I know what you mean. It was. I don't really care for any of the teams in the IPL. I enjoy the IPL as a tournament. I think it's really good fun, but I tend to be more of a detached observer. Except I think for when Punjab Kings are involved. Like there's something. They are pure sport to me. Like we were joking about how things can't, they defy reason and you can't analyze them, and that's true. That's why they're so captivating, because every other team is trying to do a thing. They're trying to be rational and they make decisions that we can more or less understand. They might be bad decisions. It might be Piers Chawla batting in front of Tim David, but we can sit down at the end of the day and be like, okay, we can see what they were thinking there. It was dumb, but we can see what they were thinking. Punjab, they don't have that. It's just pure lottery. It's pure sporting energy. It's like amateurism. It's sport from the 18th century. We don't get this anymore. We're not supposed to get this. And they just pulled off, the most marvelous thing I've ever seen, I would say. This was marvelous.
They're just sitting there playing. They're playing Brian Lara cricket. That's what they do. They're playing Brian Lara cricket on easy mode, and that's what's happening. And it's everything that they tried kind of came off the bat. They were pretty dreadful with the ball and in the field.
Terrible.
So it was one of the worst performances of the tournament. And Nathan Ellis sitting in the dugout. You're just like, do you reckon I could have a go, lads? You've not played me one game yet. And you're still picking these guys. Harshal Patel is wearing the purple cap. How the fuck has that happened? Like, literally, the guy is horrendous with the ball, and yet is still picking up wickets. It defies all logic and reason. But here, I think let's get into it, Jack, because when it comes to KKR, they batted really, really well. When it came to Phil Salt and Narayan, it was again exactly what we've come to expect from them. And Punjab Kings didn't really have an answer, did they? They really struggled to actually go through their bowlers, and it was always it just felt like not enough, and it felt like this. It felt like Punjab Kings were like petering out of the tournament. Is how I saw it.
Yeah, it did. It did. I think it's the thing with Narayan. You've got about 5 balls to get him out. I would say like that seems to be your window in this IPL. If he gets past 5 balls, then you're in for a world of pain. With that in mind, I don't know if Sam Curran's your best option. I think you go for Rabada there, the guy who takes more wickets than basically anyone in the IPL. He's an absolute pole machine. Is Rabada. Can be a bit leaky, and he was leaky today. But I think you have to get him out, basically, don't you? Otherwise, this sort of thing happens. And I'm not so sure I'd have gone with Sam Curran there. And then from there, the whole thing kind of unravels, doesn't it? I mean, like 10 overs later, they're 138 for 1, and you are thinking,
oh no,
Punjab are going to let them score 300 here. But I don't know. I hesitate to say Punjab dragged it back, but they were maybe less bad in the second half of the innings.
Yeah, but you still look at it like the worst batter ultimately faced more than 5 balls, struck at 169. They were on the receiving end of an absolute pounding, the Punjab Kings bowlers.
Well, so were all the bowlers in this game, apart from Narayan, who is just a genius. 20. I mean, the only time we're going to mention it because this was a run fest. 24 runs off 24 balls in this match has got to be one of the greatest bowling performances of all time. And he gets 70. He must be thinking, lad, come on. Anyone else can put their hand up here. Every bowler's got pumped, I think, Ross. Like, if we look at it in a context point of view, yeah, Arshdeep's 45 for 2. He's not going to remember that as the highlight of his career, but he's going to like 3 runs below the run rate. That's not too bad. Or 2 runs below the run rate. That's not too bad. Even Sam Curran's thinking, we're 15 and over, but at least I got a wicket. I could have been on the other team. None of them got a wicket. Here's a question, and this is what people will be saying after this. People who didn't like, there is pure joy in this being chased down by the team that chased it down. Like there is pure fun in that. If it was any other team, I'd be way less boisterous, I think. But it's Punjab, and we have to give Punjab their moment in the sun because they're going to lose in their next game, and it's going to be a tragedy. Is there a question here, Ross, about whether we've gone too far towards the batters?
Everything kind of conspired against bowlers today. The pitch was an absolute deck. There was a little bit of turn in it, but it was an absolute dream deck to bat on. The ball was coming on brilliantly. Eden Gardens, it's a great place to watch cricket, isn't it? Like, it's one of those things you watch it on TV and you're just like, this is the IPL.
Yes,
and I think when 100%. You see the ball like careering into the crowd, and you've got the little purple lights, kind of just like, this looks amazing. But it is a bit of an unfair contest at the moment. It kind of feels like all the batters are bringing kind of a gun to a knife fight, and it's been. I don't know what it is at the moment. Is it the ball? Like, have they? I think on one of the previous shows, you kind of said, have they changed the ball, and the ball is just an absolute, I don't know, a heap of shit now, and it can just be absolutely obliterated into the moon. Are the pitches that are being rolled out actually just, almost like the Pakistani motorways that were kind of being rolled out when England visited? Or is it the impact sub rule where you've just got more license to go hell for leather because you've got that insurance policy?
I think it's definitely partly all of those. Yeah, carry on. Yeah. What else?
Or is it the fact that the bowlers have just been like, do you know what? Actually, the standard of bowling is decreasing when it comes to it, but maybe that's a bit too far. So I think there's a lot of stuff happening here that is a bit difficult, I think, to immediately address because the horse has kind of bolted a little bit, I think.
I think there's a few things. I mean, I think definitely there's a few injuries to domestic Indian bowlers, and look at some of the World Cup squads that are floating around, and that seam attack, and you're going, ugh, if you're an India fan, I think right now, like, I think there are some good players that should be in this tournament, and then there are a few overseas pacers. Thinking, Mark Wood here, for example, who haven't showed up for various different reasons. And then some overseas pacers who did show up, like Mitchell Stark, and
You
disappeared.
can't blame him, mate. He was really dropped, and I was calling for Mitch Stark to stay in the team. That bloke defended 21 off the final over to win KKR the game, and was cruelly dropped today. Apparently for a cut finger. I've got a cut finger. I'm playing cricket tomorrow. Bullshit that he's got a cut finger and he's been ruled out. He got dropped today for Kamira, and sometimes the KKR fans who are calling for his head, they're going to be sitting there going, God, I wish Mitch Stark played today.
But I do. But like, to go back to this, are there too many runs? I mean, I think we will be seeing the back of the impact sub rule at the end of this season. I think this is or maybe after the next season, because we like to take things quite slow in cricket. Like, we like to really make sure that we've broken the game before we make any decisions about what we do next. But it's clearly freeing batters up to do what they want, and every team's coming into every game with at least 7 frontline batters, sometimes more than that. I mean, there are some teams that bat just crazy deep, which means that everyone can go ballistic. And it also means the other effect of this, and we don't talk about it that much, but if we are going to do some analytics on this, it means that you can choose your batting order in a much more effective way than if you don't have that depth. You can basically target matchups in a way that you used to only be able to do with bowling. So that means that your pace hitters basically only see pace right at the death, and your spin hitters basically only see spin in the middle. Nobody needs to be versatile anymore. Versatility that's a 2021 thing. Like, now you just be really good against one type of bowler, and that's the entire ask. And if you get rid of that impact sub, you, in theory, bring back batters having to play against bowlers where they're not an automatic win, and we haven't seen that much of that. I think you're right as well. Some of these pitches are mad, and I think you're probably right that the ball isn't doing anything. Like, we haven't seen really a single game where we've seen a lot of spin. We haven't seen the ball swing really. Even the guys who can swing the ball, Trent Bolt, not really been hooping it around.
There was a couple of games at the start of the season, but actually it's not really there, is it?
And David Warner did an interview on this as well, where he said basically the ball stays really hard the whole game. So what normally happens in a T20 is the first time it goes into the crowd, it comes back with a chunk out of it, and it starts to grip the pitch and it softens up. It doesn't spring off the bat as hard, and because it's rougher, it catches the air a bit more, and so it doesn't fly as far. These ones, and like, we don't know, we haven't actually got a version of the ball, and people don't talk about this thing. It's these sort of things in cricket, or ask the players. But Warner spoke about it off the top of his own head and suggested that actually the ball is partly responsible. So I think that's a possibility. But it is kind of fun when Punjab Kings chase 262. So I don't know. I don't know if I hate it.
There's a human element to here as well, right? And Shasha, I think, highlighted it in the chat. The fielding has been worse this year. I think from an anecdotal perspective, I've got no numbers to back this up, but the catching for the last few games in particular has been like dreadful. And if you're going to have teams that are going out and taking like high risk, high reward type things, these guys, once they get in, there's, as you said, for Narine, there's such a small window to kind of get them, but they do give up chances. And both early on here, Salt and Narine both got dropped in the opening kind of few balls of their innings, and they were catchable pieces, especially Sam Curran's drop at cover. And it ultimately doesn't cost Punjab Kings today because kind of a miracle happened, but I think that also plays into it. So yeah, the standard of coaching, standard of catching rather, is hampering them a little bit as well. So yeah, multiple factors there. But I don't think bowling's dead, Jack. I think that I'm hoping we'll start to see some deterioration of some of the pitches like we've done in the past. But maybe this time the tarmac is not going to run out.
Yeah, maybe. Anything else from this miracle game? I mean, like, does it actually matter? Like, Kolkata Knight Riders started the day second. They're still second. Punjab started the day 9th. They're 8th.
Well, what I think is really important is my prediction at the start of the season that RCB would finish rock bottom. And it's really, really important that they are still with 4 points from 9 games. So I'm glad that Punjab Kings have done that. And yeah, it makes for a slight bit of entertainment now. There's a few more teams, kind of 6 to 8 points, but at least it makes some of the games hopefully a little bit more entertaining, with potentially a dark horse that makes it through to the playoffs out of some crazy stuff that happens over the next 5 games.
Punjab, next 5 matches. Chennai. They've got the Chennai doubleheader. RCB, Rajasthan Royals, Sunrisers. They go 5 for 5, Ross. They're making the playoffs.
Mate, if that happens, that is the wildest shit ever. That is just not like, there is no logical reason that possibly happens, but logic doesn't apply here, lads. It's Punjab Kings. Kings of comedy.
Right. We're going to take a break. Then we're going to talk about RCB. We barely mentioned this we didn't mention it at the top of the show. RCB won, Ross. They won. Get ready. Get ready.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be talking about RCB winning a game of cricket. We don't get to do that very often, so we're quite excited. There can be barely any shows. I think this is our 5th IPL, Ross. There can be barely any, if any, shows where we've covered Punjab and RCB winning in one episode. This is big news. Before we get to that, though, just a shout out to our co-sponsors for this episode, Serious Cricket and Manscaped. If you head over to manscaped.com and use the code CricketPod, you get 20% off plus free shipping. We'll do a full read of that, I think, on Sunday, but there's a little nod there, and you can head to the show notes. And similarly for Serious Cricket, Ross, we're starting our season tomorrow. Do you need any equipment last minute? Yeah. I don't know if they could do a pre-Saturday delivery at this point, but...
No, but I've ordered myself some gloves because I need some new batting gloves. So that's what I'm doing. And my bat is off for repair, Jack. So we'll see if that can be repaired. If not, I will be going and buying a new bat from them. Cool. And to use our link and get yourself a nice treat.
Do that. Yeah. Ross, yesterday in the IPL, RCB took on Sunrisers. Everyone was saying if Sunrisers bat first here, they're going to get 300. Everyone was really... They were amped. They were horny for it to go a little bit smutty on you. And then RTB batted first. We were all a bit sad. And Kohli did his thing, 51 off 43. Faf did his thing, got some runs and got out. And Patadar, who's having a pretty good middle tournament period here, he did his thing, 50 off 20. It was really impressive. And it all meant that the RCBs got up to 206 from their 20 overs. Little shout out to Jaidev Unadkat. Normally a figure of fun, but 30 for 3 off his 4. Not too bad today, or yesterday rather. Not too bad. In response, Sunrisers, they were bad. Will Jacks got an early wicket. He got Travis Head early, and we were quite quickly into sort of uncharted territory when it came to Sunrisers. Like a little bit of a batting collapse. Can anyone provide some stability? Abhishek goes, Markram goes, Clarkson's in the power play. He goes, and you felt actually that the game was probably over at that point. Or I felt that the game was probably over at that point. I would say, Ross, they get up to 171, so they lose by 30 runs. I would say 35 runs. What's 5 runs between friends? I would say that they actually did quite well to avoid a bit of a net run rate calamity in the end.
Yeah, I think
finally, props to Khan Sharma. Another figure of fun, 2 for 29. Not too bad for him. Go on, what were you going to say?
Well, I think that it was the law of averages. I thought this was coming. So on the preview show, everything kind of lined up, right, to kind of say Sunrisers are absolutely going to wallop kind of RCB. They hit them for the record figure in the last game they played against them, and it just logically made so much sense that SRH would absolutely wallop again here, but it's not the way the world works, unfortunately. And yeah, this last 2 days, a bit of chaos has come in, and yeah, RCB managed to put in a performance, while Sunrisers, I think this was the first time we saw kind of real complacency. It kind of felt that they went into this game thinking, look, whatever RCB get, we're going to be absolutely fine, or if we bat first, we're going to obliterate them. And I think this was, the first time of this tournament that we've seen Sunrisers kind of, fall victim to their own arrogance, I think, on this occasion. Because I don't think kind of the bowling was spectacular from RCB. I think it was good, but it wasn't kind of, oh my God, this is completely unplayable, etc. And I just think that, that game, Sunrisers have ultimately let them down. But when it comes to RCB, Jack, they Patidar. Patidar's rate against spin has been spectacular, hasn't it, so far this tournament?
I quite like Patidar. Patidar is one of those players who started as a bowler, isn't he, and then switched over to batting a bit later in his career. So a bit of a late bloomer on that front. And he's got a pretty solid body of work in T20 cricket overall, and was having a pretty solid year for RCB this year. Probably, I mean, I know Kohli's got the orange cap and blah 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 blah, but you know, maybe if he gets another couple of scores, maybe I won't say he's their best batter yet, but he's having a good year. He scored 211 runs, averaging 26, striking at 175. He's got 350s, as you say. He's
you need a couple of Patidars in your team, right? You look at what Punjab Kings have had into Shashank and Ashutosh. Like you need that kind of thing, and where you've got such a devoid around the domestic talent in their team, it's great to see kind of that happen. And you've also seen a bit of a change, Jack. You saw Cameron Green actually contribute to an RCB performance here. Rare.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been in the shop for flop of the tournament, I'd have said. You've got to factor in the price tag there and the big trade, the deadline day move for big Cam Green. Wasn't going that well, but 38, quick 38 and 37. Well, just get every number wrong on this show. And 2 for 12. I'd say with his bowling, like by the time he was bowling, it was kind of finished. His 2 wickets are Pat Cummins and Bhuvi Kumar. I don't want to denigrate their batting talent too much. Pat Cummins played some really nice shots, but they're not prize wickets. But you can only bowl at who you bowl to as well. So on there's pluses and minuses for Cameron Green. As you say, not the worst he's played. So let's put a positive spin on it. RCB actually quite a lot of things came off for them. Yeah, they got runs. They had multiple contributors. When it came to bowling, they took an early wicket. They did it. You have to take it. You have to get Travis Head and or Abhishek Sharma out quickly against SRH. Otherwise, you're screwed. Like, otherwise, any score is possible, and they did that. And using Will Jacks was clever in that role. Siraj bowled well. Siraj has been pretty iffy this tournament. Iffy enough to be dropped. Yeah, 20 off his 4 overs, no wickets. But what are you going to do? And then Khan Sharma, he's probably actually in for a shout for player of the match. I don't know who did win player of the match. I never look at that sort of thing, but it was Patidar. Obviously, it was the batter. But Khan Sharma at one point had 2 for 6 and had ended the game more or less. Like, I don't know. It's not fair. It's an unfair game. Anything from this match? I mean, like it was a little bit of an aberration, but as you say, these things happen in the IPL. Anything that you think we should learn about either team?
I'm not sure it's going to change the trajectory of either of the teams, if I'm perfectly honest. I think every team going through this, it has a bit of a wobble. They'll lose a game and be like, do you know what, guys, actually, it was a bit silly. The Markram factor, I keep bringing it up. I would love to see Glenn Phillips in this side. And I know that Markram is in there to provide a little bit of ballast, to almost like delay Klaassen coming in, so that he can take down bowlers in the last kind of 10 overs. But Markram, that foil role, I'm just not a massive fan of doing it. I think that you could play a domestic batter if you really wanted to in that lineup. You could play Tripathi in that role if you really needed to. You could play Agarwal as well, who's kind of warming the bench for Sunrisers. So I think there's a little bit of kind of thinking to do, because Sunrisers could be playing a better 11. And I think they've got away with it to a certain extent. Nitish Reddy has kind of performed probably above expectations, it's probably fair to say. Shabazz Ahmed as well has kind of performed a little bit above expectations, especially with the bat. But again, not people you're kind of banking on bringing you an IPL championship. So Sunrisers have having a great season so far. I don't think this is going to be terminal for them. I think this will just be a little bit of a wake-up call and go, do you know what? We could do 1 or 2 things a little bit better. For RCB, like, this is just a consolation victory. They are going nowhere fast, unfortunately, for them. And even here, kind of, there's people in the chat saying, "Oh, Kohli's innings was good. Kohli's innings was bad." It started off really well. You saw the intent in the power play, and you saw, do you know what, this could go really well for Kohli. And then he kind of just ground to a halt. Like his ability to kind of take down spin bowling is just fallen off a cliff, unfortunately, and teams know how to target it. So RCB are always going to have a ceiling if Kohli is facing an awful lot of deliveries. So yeah, it's unfortunate for them, but never mind. Better luck at the next auction.
Yeah. He's having an okay year, Kohli, averaging 60 odd at 145. The problem for him is that he's played in like a bunch of 200 aside games, so that strike rate of 145 probably should be taken with a little bit of a pinch of salt. I mean, I think Ross, I worked it out the other day, and it's probably gone up since, actually, with the 266 a day. The average first team scores was about 190 at the halfway stage. So what does that make in strike rate? That's like a 180 average strike rate, something like that. So I know might be bad maths, but it's more than 145. So factor that in, and factor in as well that the home games are at the Chinnaswamy, where we've seen even more runs, and it's probably not as hot, but you do win a nice orange cap. And I tell you what, someone offered me a free cap, I'd take it. Someone said all you've got to do is just bat like you normally do for a season, and you get a free cap. I'd do that. I wouldn't give it a second thought.
There is a little bit of kind of personal glory, right, as well involved. Like he knows, like Kohli knows, this RCB team are dreadful. Like he knows they don't have any chance of making the playoffs. So he's just like, do you know what? I'm going to make this IPL kind of worth my time, really. And I think going for that orange cap, kind of when there's nothing else to play for, cricket is a selfish game at the end of the day. So I think that he's going to get more sponsorship out of winning it. He's going to get kind of his profile gets bigger, all this kind of stuff, all the stuff that is kind of wrong, right? But for Kohli in this position, can you really begrudge him? I'm not so sure.
Do you want one Kohli stat that's good? Kohli.
Yeah.
He's hit 17 sixes this year, which is the most he's hit since 2018.
Well, there we go. That is good.
So could be turning a corner.
And look how much it matters. They are rock bottom.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on most of that, which makes for a boring show. But sometimes, it's what you've got to do. I think Sunrisers are still pretty good. Probably one of the favourites for the playoffs. 6 matches to go. If they win half of them, they're pretty much nailed on with that net run rate. RCB, they've won 2 matches. They've got 5 to go. If they win all of their matches, they will maybe finish 5th. And they're not going to do that, are they? If we're honest. Here's a question for you, and this has come up. This was a big question and then we'll do a couple of previews and then we'll wrap up. RCB, if they played in the 100, where do they finish out of the 8 teams? So top 3 make the playoffs, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Are they a playoff contender for you, or are you thinking no?
I don't, it depends who they play, right? Because if they're opening with Will Jacks, anything is possible. If they've got Will Jacks,
they're not. They're playing the team that played yesterday.
Oh, right, fine. So
you can't say, if Maxwell turned up.
Okay, fine. So that 11 that played yesterday, that's not doing brilliantly, I don't think. I think they're probably in a similar situation. It would be my
bottom.
Right, no, one of the bottom teams. I don't think they're in the playoff hunt. I don't like. There's maybe Siraj kind of scares a few of the kind of 100 batters, but even if I'm honest, is it really that much of a step up? Like you're bowling against kind of the people he's bowling against now. Khan Sharma playing at the Oval is getting hit into the gasworks there. Like it's going to be
in the River Thames.
Yeah, it's a bloodbath, I think. So I'm not holding out much hope. I'm thinking that they're probably in the London Spirit Welsh Fire category more than they're in the Oval Invincibles category, if we were to kind of think around where they kind of sit. And that might get me absolute pelters in the YouTube comments, but I'm not convinced.
Right, Ross, we've got about 6 minutes. We've got 4 previews. I didn't realise this, but we've got double game day tomorrow. We've finally got a double game day on Saturday, just in time for the English cricket season to start. So cheers IPL organisers for that. In the morning, it's Delhi v Mumbai. This is a last chance saloon game, Ross. Whoever loses this is gone. They're gonzo. As
You're on the Delhi
Onsky.
train. That's who you are. You're on
Oh,
the Delhi
I'm-
train, aren't
I'm-
you? You're thinking
yeah.
they're going to choo all the way into the playoffs. The last time we were speaking,
They win this. They're 5-5. Are they going to win?
Mumbai, as much as Delhi have a decent kind of approach to the batting, they've got the sacrifice in Shai Hope. Fraser McGurk is doing well. Rishabh Pant is back, and Tristan Stubbs is kind of doing he's having a breakout year for the lad. But my view is that their bowling was just going to get taken apart by this Mumbai Indians batting lineup. And I'm not sure that they've got the wherewithal to deal with the Bumrah situation, unlike Rajasthan Royals had in the last game.
I can see both of those angles, and that basically, if you're going to beat Mumbai, you have to not get absolutely hooned when you're bowling, because you're going to get hooned a bit, but you've got to keep a lid on it, and then you've got to just not be out to Bumrah too much, and that's exactly what Rajasthan did. They got hooned a bit, didn't get out to Bumrah too much, won the game.
I think Sky.
I can see your thought process.
I think Sky is going to be a big problem for Delhi's bowlers.
Okay, I think that's a good one. A slightly harder game to call. Lucknow Super Giants playing at home against the Rajasthan Royals, your pink boys.
That is a tough one. That is tough because LSG have kind of stumbled across kind of a bit of a winning formula at the moment. And Mayank Yadav is supposedly back tomorrow, Jack. That is the big news coming out of the Lucknow camp. The Mr. 95 is going to be back playing. Again, in this period, out of all the teams, Rajasthan Royals probably have the most competent batting unit to deal with something like that. But anything can kind of happen. I do think again though that this Royals team are a bit of a handy threat. They're really difficult up in the power play, so there's an awful lot of pressure on De Kock and KL Rahul. Stoinis, is he going to be able to pull out another absolutely brilliant innings? I'm not so sure he's going to be that consistent in this, and I think that the struggles against someone like Yuzi Chahal and Ravichandran Ashwin is a bit too much to call. So my view is, and I'm always going to be a little bit biased, but I think Rajasthan Royals are going to have something to say here, and I wouldn't be surprised if you look at their makeup of their team might shift. I think someone like Maharaj might actually come in to the lineup because there's some of the batters for Super Giants aren't actually that brilliant against spin, but they do have Puran, and Puran has had a couple of quietish games for him because he is brilliant. He is probably their best player. So I'm not writing Lucknow off, but I think Rajasthan Royals are going to be favourites, probably a 60-40 for me.
Fair enough. And then on Sunday morning we've got Gujarat Titans v RCB, which I guess you think that Gujarat are going to win that, don't you?
So Gujarat have been so weird this year. And by weird, I think not very good, and have kind of let themselves down. I think they've picked the wrong 11 quite often, or wrong 12 quite often, and they've not really played to their strengths. But they are still in contention, Jack. They are not out of the playoff races. They are close to doing so because of their abhorrent net run rate. But here, again, I think they could just put the chokehold on RCB. What is the best way to slow down Virat Kohli? It's bowling spin. What is Gujarat Titans' biggest strength? Spin bowling. And I also think that we're starting to see some of the Titans players be like, we need to hit some runs. So David Miller looked really good in the last game, and they almost chased down a relatively kind of big score. I would like them to see them change up their bowling unit just slightly, but it's going to be difficult. But for me, Gujarat Titans will edge this one.
Yeah, it's another one of those ones where it's kind of like team who can't play spin, play team who bowl lots of spin. But then there's the Patidar factor that maybe Patidar will be big in this one as well. Otherwise, I think it could be a bit for RCB.
I also think it'd be quite a boring game, if I'm perfectly honest. It doesn't that doesn't scream like absolutely box office great game, if I'm perfectly honest. Why do they keep playing Gujarat on Sundays? Stop it.
I've no idea. But Sunday afternoon is a good one. Chennai Super Kings v the Sunrisers Hyderabad in Chennai. Sunrisers, actually, a little bit of pressure on them after their loss to RCB. Don't want to go to 5-4, open the door, do they? They want to win there. And they're playing a rival,
This is
big
huge
time
game.
rival in Chennai. What are your thoughts?
So Chennai need to sort themselves out. Every single Chennai fan that we engage with say, "Oh, aren't we a brilliant, well-run franchise?" This season, you've gone from starting off well to this bit, kind of not knowing kind of what you're doing. Gaikwad is all over the place in terms of his bowling selection. Their team selection is, again, all over the place because of the loss of form in a number of key players, and they are not playing to their strengths. At the Cheapawk, the ball turns. Slow bowling is the best way to go. And regardless of saying, oh, the pitches aren't doing X, Y, and Z, absolute rubbish. I thought it was a complete cop-out from Gaikwad going, oh, the dew factor came in. It rendered our spinners absolutely pointless. Absolutely rubbish. They need to be playing to their strengths and not bowling 16 overs of pace like they did last game. They need to be shifting that dial, bowling kind of 10 overs of spin, maybe even 11 or 12, and really pushing that and actually making the most of it to put SRH under pressure. However, when it comes to Heinrich Klaassen, he scares the living shit out of me, and will do that for the spin bowlers in that space. So offers a little bit of a threat. So they have to be able to balance it in the right way. But I do think that people like Travis Head, as Will Jacks kind of demonstrated yesterday, can be got at. So don't be surprised if that's what they're going to be trying to do. I think Super Kings will not change their approach, Jack. I think they'll be too boneheaded in this space and too kind of, we're at CSK, we know what we're doing. And I think a surprise is on the cards, and the sun will rise as part of that surprise.
All right, interesting. Right, I think we'll wrap up there. Thanks very much for watching and listening, everyone. Remember to click like and subscribe. We're 20 short of the big 16K, and we want to make it before Sunday so that we can put our feet up and eat a giant 16K kebab.
Well, nice. And we've got cricket tomorrow, Jack, haven't we? So wish us luck in the chat for our game for I Don't Like Cricket.
I pray that it doesn't rain and pray that it's warmer than 9 degrees, which both of those things look quite likely at the moment. If we don't die of exposure over the weekend, we will see you on Sunday. Thank you very much. Catch you soon.